If you're doing a debate show and you're a competitive person,
Yeah.
why would you want me as a partner? That's bad. You want to go 15 rounds every...
Guys, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Did you hear that? If you went a long time, I've been waiting. Okay, so I noticed this video about Max Kellerman. He's apparently, it's like one of his first appearances, speaking on the whole Stephen A. Smith thing from First Take. You know, Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith, they've done this talk show, the most popular talk show, First Take on ESPN, for like 5 years, and it's been, you know, a hit, partly because it's on ESPN, but still, it's been rivaling Undisputed with Skip and Shannon. They're both really good, but and we could argue about the whole, you know, this show is on ESPN, so it's going to get more views, whatever. But bottom line, it was the most successful show, and this is the first time I'm seeing this. I intentionally made sure that I didn't watch this video so I can do a full reaction and see this for the first time with you guys. So let's go ahead and check out what Max Kellerman had to say about Stephen A. Smith. I've heard Stephen A. Smith's perspective. I haven't heard Max. I love hearing two sides of the story, so let's go ahead and get into this and hear what he has to say. Let's check it out. Oh, I need to change the game to just chatting too. Dang it, my bad. Oh well, let's get into it.
Frustrating was it for you to sit on the sidelines, be talked about, but not be able to talk?
That doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
You're talking about me like I'm not sweating anybody like that. But I was very flattered that, you know, because if you go off the air, you're not sure that the sports world would care, right? Like, but people seem to care. I was like, oh, look at that. People are thinking about me. I was very flattered by it, to tell you the truth.
A lot of people were,
and in terms of the stuff that went down behind the scenes, there were things said to me in private that early on that it's not like anyone said to me, hey, this is top secret, don't repeat this. But I think there's a general understanding that if someone's talking to you in private, it's a private conversation. And I wouldn't repeat that unless they said it was okay to repeat what they told me.
This is interesting.
So that's what I could tell you about, like the behind the scenes stuff on First Take, for example.
By the way, let me give this guy a shout out. This is Bill Simmons, Bill Simmons podcast. I'm not really that familiar with him, but he has the full video if you want to see the full video.
In terms, like, I'm really not worried about that stuff, you know, like
blind reaction, yes sir.
Yeah, but so Stephen A. you're in
Never
a
seen any of
relationship
this.
with where you're doing a show together for how many years? 4?
5.
5 years. You're with this dude every day. Seeing him in the mornings. You do commercial breaks. You're hanging out.
Sure.
And then the show ends, or the show ends with you, and he moves on with other people. And then, you know, and I should say I like Stephen A. and I've always gotten along with him. I didn't love how he handled the aftermath of you leaving, where it's basically like, I told you the show would be better. I just thought, because I think you're really talented. Now, you and I have known each other for a while. Whether it
Max is very talented, very smart. He's always like, if you've seen the show, like he always interjects with like these, you know, his vocabulary is incredible. If you hear like some of the words that he uses, it's just like, he's just, you know, very intelligent dude. And Stephen A. even said that he's smart as a whip, you know, blah, blah, blah. But for whatever reason, he just, let's get into this. And I didn't like how it was handled either, but let's just,
meshed as a show perfectly. I don't know the answer to that, but I just didn't think that was the right way to handle it.
If you're doing a debate show and you're a competitive person,
Yeah.
why would you want me as a partner? That's bad. You want to go 15 rounds every...
guys, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Did you hear that? If you went, you hear what he said? If you want me as a debate partner, if you're trying to do a show and you're competitive, why would you want me as a debate partner? He's basically saying like I'm the good. Or not, okay, he's not saying that, but he's basically saying I'm a tough debater. You know, why would you want me? I'm gonna outsmart you. That's basically what he's like saying between the lines. I love it. I love Max Kellerman. You could tell. You could always tell like he was a confident guy, but whoo.
Every day with Muhammad Kellerman. That's just bad. You know, it's embarrassing, you know.
So you think that was part of it? He didn't want to put the time in? Or like just wanted a different type of show? What's your take looking back 2 years later?
I don't think it has to do with put the time in. It's, you know, it's a debate show.
You're ready to roll on all topics.
You want to like if you're... I have an idea. This is what I want to put on TV. I want to spar Bud Crawford every day for 15 rounds, and I want everyone to see it. eventually you're going to say, I don't want to do that anymore.
And you bring it.
That's fair. You know what? I love his perspective. I love that perspective. Man, it's incredible. And I love the confidence, too. Like, he's just like, I'm a tough debater, so obviously why would you want to debate? And let me say this, too, because Stephen A. has also said this, that, you know, he said in his like, why he got rid of Max Kellerman, he also said that what value does he offer? Well, clearly Max Kellerman's a boxing expert. Like, he knows about boxing. He's been on the boxing show for many years. Like, that's what he does. That's what he studies. Maybe the boxing segments are like, maybe he wanted someone that was, because boxing is like only a small part of like the sports world. No one really cares as much about. I mean, people care about boxing, but it's not as big as football. And you saw the direction that he went. He went with Michael Irvin, who's a football guy. He went with Shannon Sharp, who's a football guy. You know, he's a basketball guy himself, so he doesn't really need to get basketball guys. He just went with football guys. What's that guy from the Steelers? You know, Ryan Clark. He went all football. So maybe Stephen A. is actually telling the truth. Like, with a boxing guy, like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's part of the reason. But I think Max, the show is much better with Max, obviously. But I'm thinking maybe there's some truth to what Stephen A's like thinking was. Like, maybe I don't know, but it just doesn't sit right.
And some other people in a rotating cast.
I mean, that's one aspect of it. There are others. In other words, that's what I could tell you from my point of view.
Yeah.
And I also think that if you make a calculation, that if you can be perceived as a solo act, really, that you can get paid at a certain level that you can't if you're not a solo act, then you'd like to be a solo act, or at least perceived that way.
That's fair. I mean, and there's some guys that do solo act, like Colin Cowherd.
Well, so like Mike and the
Colin Cowherd is a solo act. He does a great job. There are some people that decide to go solo. I think Shannon Sharp could go solo. I did a review on how Uncle Ocho. I don't think it's a great show mainly because of Ocho. Nothing against Ocho, but I just think Shannon it's someone that could go solo. I don't think Stephen A. could go solo, and I honestly, as much as I love Max, I don't think he would be good solo. I think they both belong in debate formats.
Mad Dog are a good example of a show where it was the two of them together for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, whatever happened. Mike got his own show and he stayed on top for
Do you know who was supposed
6,
to be?
7
Do you know
years.
who he wanted to be in
Did you
Mad
get the
Dog's
call?
new position? Oh, yeah, that was the plan. I was supposed to go over and work with Mike, yeah.
Interesting.
What?
Because I got the call. Who else got the call?
I don't know, but we had like come to an understanding.
So you're going to leave ESPN and do it?
I did leave ESPN.
But not to do a show with Mike.
Yeah.
You did the show with Mike?
No.
So what happened?
I think my interpretation of what happened, my analysis is, I think he realized at a certain point, they're not going to make me take a partner. Why should I take a partner?
Sorry, guys.
Beating the hell out of the guys across town by myself.
Still says Mira.
I think when he thought they're going to make me take a partner, then it was like, okay, well, I'd like it to be with that guy. And then when it was like, I don't need a partner.
Yeah, that's too bad though, because I actually think long term he did need a partner, because it's always good to have people to play off of.
Look, I don't need a partner either.
No,
But I like having one because I find conversations more interesting than just talking into the wind, you know?
so
And
over the years you had Brian Kenny,
Yeah.
For a
Jim
while.
Lampley, Marcellus Wiley.
Marcellus for a
I had
while.
great partners. And in fact, I've become good friends with the people I work with because Bill, you know better than anybody. We're getting away with it. If you're in this business, you're getting away with it. Shh, pocket them. Shh, we're talking about sports.
right?
And
You'd be doing this anyway.
That's something that I've always said too. By the way, you're basically like, it's almost like not stealing money, but like you're basically just like, you're getting paid to talk sports. What every man in America is basically talking about sports for the most part. So I mean, they're basically just getting paid. The only difference is they have a camera in front of them and they're getting paid. You know, it's brilliant. I can't hate on that.
Come on. It's your job as a guy, like an average American guy. It's your job to follow sports. It's like literally what you have to do. You have no choice in the matter, right? You got to find out what's going on. And so how to make that experience even better hang out with your friends and talk about sports, right? Like, why would you not want to do that?
Sure.
It's interesting because Stephen A was the one partner I've ever had over like years.
Yeah.
Where I didn't feel like a relationship was really forming. And I like to go to work and you know.
You could feel a little bit watching it. And it was hard
Yeah.
to tell how much of it was theater and how much of it was like, oh, these guys just don't get along in the same way, or
Whatever you feel about who you're working with and what the situation is, to me, a cardinal sin is betraying that on the air. You should always be thinking about making the show entertaining.
Right.
And I do think it reached the point on that show where it was like, come on, dude, we get, the first priority is to make good TV.
Well, it becomes, I mean, good TV is like professional wrestling, right?
Right.
Both guys have moves. I guess so the other guys move.
Of course.
And I think we've all been in situations who've done this where you're with somebody who, or on a bigger show where people either selling your moves or they're not.
Right. Exactly right. But he's a showman. Like he would, I never had to worry about when the little red light came on that it wouldn't be a show, but it would be like, you don't want to be undermined, you know?
Is that a fun show to do? Like, did you like doing?
What he said about that is so real. Like all he's ever been is undermined. Now I did do a video showing how Stephen A. Smith respected. There is a video on the sports channel, Sports Island Club, by the way, where I did a video on and it shows every single time, like almost every single time that Stephen A. actually respected Max Kellerman and said, "Hey, you're doing a great job," blah blah blah. It's a video called "Why People Leave Skip Bayless and Not Stephen A." It's on the sports channel. But and he respects Max only when it comes to boxing. Every other sport, he undermines every opinion that Max has, especially if it's NBA, because Stephen A. Smith is an NBA specialist, and that's why Stephen A. Smith, he would go back and forth with Chris Broussard back in the day, because they're both, you're not going to respect someone when you think you know more about that subject than the other person, and that's just how it is, But I mean, at least with someone like Stephen A. Smith, like his ego, like when no one's going to tell Stephen A. Smith about basketball. He's not going to accept anything, but in this case with Max Kellerman, he felt like he knew something. He felt like he knew more about Stephen A., more about the sport than Max Kellerman on every other thing except for boxing. I feel like that was a problem. And anyway,
What was it? 2 hours a day of just 5 days a week of having to react and just be like prisoner of the moment stuff?
The issue with that show is this. What is a hot take? A hot take is a counterintuitive conclusion that on TV you're going to just state your conclusion. You do analysis about a subject. You come to a conclusion that's counterintuitive. So when you say it, people will be like, what are you talking about? Give me 90 seconds. I'll explain it to you. Oh, at least he has a point of view. If there are 12 topics a day, and you have 12 hot takes on those topics, because by and large, there's a consensus about sports. This guy's good, this guy's not as good, whatever it is. This team is in the right direction, the wrong direction, whatever it is. The consensus is usually correct, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, some small percentage of the time, in fact, what everyone thinks is not true. If you have a counterintuitive conclusion about every topic in sports every day, you are insane. Like, Skip Bayless is very entertaining, and I always enjoy my interactions with him privately.
Yeah.
He's insane, right? Like,
hold on. Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Max Kellerman and I never even knew they had interactions, but I guess it makes sense because they're both in the sports field. I mean, but then again, no, it makes sense because Max Kellerman replaced Skip Bayless, so I guess of course they would know each other. But that is interesting for him to say that he's insane. But he also prefaced it by saying that we had a good relationship. I love our interactions together, and I love watching him. And then you say he's insane. It's completely different than just coming out and saying he's insane. But it is interesting because I thought that I thought that Max Kellerman and Skip Bayless would make a great pairing. I don't know why they didn't link up at some point. I would love. Let me know in the comments below. Would you love to see that? I would love to see that, honestly. But
you can't. You have 12 hot takes a day? Unbelievable, right?
Right.
You've come to 12 conclusions that go against the consensus every single day that you're going to Stephen A has no hot takes. Stephen A almost never, I can't think of any counterintuitive conclusions that he ever reaches. That's not his job on the air. His job is to be the big reactor to a counterintuitive conclusion. Reactor. Just, he's there to hear the crazy conclusion that his partner has come to and actually be the everyman with a loud voice. Like, you are crazy, right? And do it theatrically. So there's a lot of pressure on his partner to come up with a counterintuitive conclusion about everything. Now, how do you do that? Well, you're just making it up. You're doing it for TV. No, what you do is you take a topic, and a good producer will start to drill down on the topic and say, okay, so you agree about this. So Mahomes is a great quarterback. But what does he do well and what does he not? And you keep going down until until you get a divergent opinion. Well, actually, I think he is good at this. No, I think he's good. No, actually, the most important player on that, we both think this is going to win. This team's going to win the championship. We both think this is why. Drill down.
Interesting.
But no, actually, the key player is, other than the superstar, is this guy. No, it's that guy. Actually, Draymond Green is the second most important player on the Warriors, right? He's actually the pick and roll partner who does all the dirty work.
Victor Wembanyama is the best player in the NBA right now.
He's
There
just
you go.
making
There's a
an example.
counterintuitive conclusion.
Yeah.
But you keep digging until you get a divergent opinion, and there is your argument. But there was a lot of pressure on that show. Like Stephen A's opinion will not diverge into counterintuitive almost ever. So his big take will be, but he'll deliver it theatrically, is Steph Curry is the greatest shooter that God ever created. Who does not know this?
Yeah.
Everyone knows this. A counterintuitive take would be, actually, you know who the best shooter on the Warriors is? It's Klay Thompson. Because I'm making this up. I don't believe this. I thought it was Steph. But because when you say greatest, you have to talk about high leverage moments too. And I have more confidence in Klay hitting a high leverage moment 3 than I do Steph. Something like that, right?
Right.
That will never happen. So there was pressure on that show for me to keep digging
here's a great
until you
one.
hear something you think is crazy.
This is the perfect example of what you just said. Jalen Brunson is the best Knick of all time.
There you go. Do you believe that?
No,
Okay, then you can't say that.
it's arguable though.
But you have to keep digging until you find the thing that Bill Simmons thinks is
But I'm
actually
saying
true.
on those shows,
Yeah.
if I say that in a
Right.
production meeting, they're like,
They'll
"That's
go-
amazing."
they'll go
That's
nuts, but-
segment 2, let's
But
do
you
it.
should not say the thing you don't believe. You know, you should stick with, and that's, so the difficulty with me on that show was it was a lot of work to keep digging until I said the thing that I believed that would also get a reaction.
But on top of it, they're telling you Cowboys, Lakers, Knicks, Yankees, like it's all the big teams
For good reason.
over
I mean-
and over again.
That is very interesting, though. That's actually very interesting that he said that, because if you think about it, you can't just have a show where people are. I mean, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. It makes me wonder, like, if there was some of that going on. But I feel like Shannon Sharp actually believes LeBron's the GOAT from like 2019. Like he believed that for like a long time. Because people used to argue, like, is he saying that LeBron is better than MJ for a reaction? Now you can pretty much go whichever direction. But I'm saying, like, at the time, Shannon Sharp was clearly team LeBron from a very early on. But so it just makes me wonder if that's like part of every show where, like, because obviously they can't just have a segment where they're both just talking about, or they're both just praising Michael Jordan the whole time, or they're both just praising Tom Brady the whole time. You know, so now it makes sense. Like, if you go back to like Undisputed, it makes perfect sense why, you know, Shannon came across as a hater of Tom Brady. Skip Bayless came across as a hater of LeBron James, which I believe he actually is probably.
Pin red meat philosophy.
By the way, the first thing I said on First Take that drove everyone nuts was Tom Brady's going to fall off a cliff, right?
I remember that.
and-
That made me angry.
Yes, yeah. He said it made me angry. Now, for me, I was never. Tom Brady's incredible. You know what I mean? Like, I was never like a huge Tom Brady guy. I feel like I can go Peyton. I can argue Peyton Manning. I can argue, and I want to make a video on why the GOAT quarterback is still, it's still Joe Montana. And I have a huge argument. I could go based on the rules. I could go based on the perfect record, the perfect touchdown to interception record in Super Bowls. And I could go, yeah, I could make a really good argument. And I do want to do a video of that. So it didn't really bother me when he said that. And Max Kellerman was always basing it off of every other player. Like you've never seen players like LeBron James and players like, Tom Brady, they're rare. Like no one ever would have thought. Like we used to always say, no one's playing basketball, NBA basketball, into their 40s. And now LeBron's doing it. We used to always make that case. Like, of course, Tom Brady can play longer than LeBron. It's looking like LeBron. It's looking like LeBron's going to be playing until he's like 42, 43. It's insane. But I understand Max Kellerman's like fall off a cliff point. Like I understand that, and he's famous for that. But let's continue.
Great.
Yeah, and the part that I didn't like, and I apologized about it the next day, and they didn't like it on the show when I apologized, was I said he's going to be a bum in short order. But I was just being I was talking the way you talk in a barbershop, right? I didn't really mean it. I just meant a guy, just a guy, a jag is what I should have said. But it was just based on every quarterback who ever lived.
Is this a defend your meme?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. I was wrong about that because on every quarterback who ever lived after the age of 40 or 41, they fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Common sense.
Kept going. The odds were that I was correct in what I was saying.
That's LeBron right now.
Right.
So why did people hate him for that? Like, I never understood that because like every other quarterback to ever play, once they hit 40, even Aaron Rodgers, he's struggling. Peyton Manning, I don't think he even hit 40. I think it was like 38, 39. Drew Brees, like all of them, just like they weren't taking care of themselves as much as Brady did. Brady takes incredible care of his body, so like it's just him and LeBron are just on another level. I don't know what they're doing, but
odds are he's just going to keep getting hurt and have small injuries in his body.
And to be clear, I'm not implying that they're not doing anything. Like they're doing it legally. Trust me, but I don't know what they're doing. I'm not implying that they're doing anything like any kind of substance or anything like that. I mean that they're taking really good care of themselves.
He's going to break down the way Karl Malone stayed once upon a time.
Correct. But when I said that about Brady, they loved it because that would get traction, right? Because you still remember it 15 years later about that. If you do real analysis and you always come to the intuitive position, your powers of analysis aren't very good, right? You're overly affected by group.
You're calling about it's like you want to have a smart zag every so often.
Well, I don't think you even have.
And that's almost a shot at Stephen A. Smith because what did he say about Stephen A. Smith before? That he never has those. And I don't care if he's taking subtle shots, but he said Stephen A. Smith never has he never veers from like the common opinion, and I do agree. Stephen A. Smith never veers from the common opinion. He's always talking about, like pretty much what you see is what Stephen A. is going to react to, and he's never going to have like a different opinion. But Max is so right. If you really analyze, you shouldn't have all the same opinions that everyone else has. And I guarantee you, I'm not trying to brag. I predict. Like I promised you, I predicted the last Super Bowl was going to be a blowout. The Eagles are going to blow the Chiefs out, and partly because Jalen Hurts plays really well. They're in the Super Bowls for whatever reason. He's just so much better in the biggest of games. The defense was just incredible. The Chiefs have been like on thin water for like a long time. Like they had a weak 15-1 record. Like they had a really good record, but they just weren't really I'm not an expert or anything like that, but like I do pay attention and I have alternating opinions on certain athletes. Like it happens, and I give Skip Bayless some credit because Skip Bayless a lot of times, people always talk about Skip Bayless. He was right about Jalen Hurts. He was right about Kyler Murray. He was right about Josh Rosen, who didn't work out. He was right about Johnny Manziel. He said if Johnny Manziel had a little bit of alcohol and blah blah blah, like if he doesn't fix that, he's out. And he was right. He was right about a lot of different quarterbacks. So you could argue some of them are just like he might be a homer for certain people because like they played for his university, and he's just kind of supporting them because to support them. But he was right a lot, So and he was right. And when a lot of people didn't believe in Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts, heck, I didn't believe in any of those. I thought Kyler Murray's height would give him issues. Now I'm not saying he's like a great quarterback, but he's good. He's serviceable. He's definitely not a bust. And Jalen Hurts, like he was drafted in the second round as a quarterback. He went to the Eagles, who at the time had a really good Carson Wentz. So no one had any expectations, but somehow, he's been incredible. He's been really good.
To look for it.
So I give people credit when they come up with an analysis that veers from the popular opinion, and they're right, you know. And it doesn't mean you're going to be right all the time, but it just means that Max is making a great point that when you're actually paying attention, your opinion shouldn't always be the popular opinion. Like you should have your opinion should veer off at some point. Everything he's saying just makes perfect sense.
Just if you're really thinking about something. Now, if you come to that counterintuitive conclusion, you're in a room of 100 people, and 99 people think you're wrong, you should absolutely double check to make sure that you believe what you think you believe, because the chances are you're wrong and they're right. But Bill, sometimes you check and you check and you check and you go, no, in fact, I'm right and they're wrong. And that's great. Then you could,
Bro, amazing. This is the podcast, by the way, the Bill Simmons podcast. Like I said, I'm not really that familiar with the show, but it looks like there's another video of him talking with Max Kellerman right here at the top. So I guess maybe he does this. Maybe Max Kellerman's like a guest on the show. I don't know, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about this whole Max Kellerman thing. Like, what do you want to see happen with him? Like, I'd love to see him back on TV again. It's up to him if he still didn't really talk about whether he wants to be or not, but he definitely certainly implied that, hey, I'm on TV, I'm getting to talk sports, I'm getting to, do what I do on a regular basis, but I'm getting millions of dollars. So I would imagine that he has interest of getting back on TV. He's still a fairly young guy. Shoot, Skip Bayless is doing it. He's like 72, 73. Why not Max? So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much my analysis. This was very interesting to finally get Max's side of the story. I love this independent media stuff too, because it's great. It's opening the doors for certain people to share their stories, and like obviously Max Kellerman's not doing this on ESPN or 60 Minutes or something like that. It's not big enough because 60 Minutes is kind of like a bigger type thing, but independent media has really allowed us to get out there, hear interviews, get to know people a little bit better, and it just brings us together. Like this culture tends to I'm not going to get into politics, but it could be divisive at times because, just in general, like think about like there's a lot of different factors where, we're like in this culture, for example, like we ride in cars. So like we're half the time we're in a car, there's like less contact. Like I've been to Europe many times. You're on the train, you're talking to people, you're seeing people, even as you're going to your destination. So there's like more opportunities. There's like these events where you can like go and, what I mean? Like there's just so much more opportunity in other places. So in a culture like this, I think independent media is incredible because it allows us to kind of come together and hear a lot of these other perspectives that we wouldn't hear otherwise. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Definitely consider subscribing, liking, commenting, and catch you guys in the next video. Peace.